Well, apparently I watched even more around this April eclipse, and I wasn't even looking for the information. Again, the information comes, and I have to have a disclaimer. I practice secularism. Okay, I do practice chaos magic, or how should you call it, possibilianism. So I take the things that are good and nourishing from old practices, but I'm not a religious of any particular religion. Definitely not a radically religious person. What I saw was that the 2017 set of eclipses on the US, they went through 7 cities called Salem. I don't know if it is true, and they referred this to, they said peace, like 7 times peace was offered. I know Salem was also sort of like witch hunt, like witches of Salem. So I don't know. And this one is through Nineveh, which Lada already talked about. And so with Mars being so close to Saturn, I believe Saturn in Pisces is a lot about what people call repent. And again, I say it secularly, okay? Because this is not it's not the time to take the shortcut to fundamentalist religion and saying this is repent. Okay, this is not repent. Yes, actually, the religious themselves will have to repent wrongdoings and misrepresentation of policies in the name of God. We're heading towards a secular time, therefore. Nor is it the time to absolve ourselves from kind of like the implications of our actions, or just we are made aware that certain things are a point of opportunity to better future in that sense. This is what I refer to as repent. Also, this brought me back to 2017, where the word peace initiative, the voice of peace, was something I used. I don't know if in the satire so much, but kind of like my speaking or public expression around that time. And the word peace initiative came big. Although I'm situated in Israel and I was also situated in Israel then, and the eclipses are on the land, they will be visible on the land of the US. The comment is more associated, I guess, with Israel's natal chart. And so I just can't help but thinking about this, because the world, the peace initiative, peace, it was very much like these 7 warnings. And also 7, I used Agashash Chiverosh, basically is a satire, an old Israeli satire. And I did kind of like adaptation of this to modern times. And it was not about the money changing hands, okay? It was basically a publicist, and I was not receiving money to write this, nor was I selling this artwork. So it was pure adaptation and purely for entertainment reasons. And of course, the original work was mentioned. And they had a lot of the number 7 in certain sketches, yes. And the city that the university was situated in was Beersheba. So now you know. Repent. What happened at the PGU? Um, they actually changed their publicity from innovation, because I called on innovative solutions to the problem of what I didn't know to name back then. I thought it was like a Me Too thing. Before the Me Too, I said sexual boundary violation, harassment, and so on. But yeah, I now know this is human trafficking ring. So repent. And this is the set of eclipses on Nineveh, which basically calling people to repent. And things come. I saw a YouTuber who is a PhD in physics, and she learned in Europe. So if you thought the situation was better in Europe, no, because she was a woman, she was asked to uh, appeal for grants so that the institution won't pay for her, and she did not agree to work for her, to work unsolicitedly and write the texts that later, higher up the rank would quote as kind of like their work, but they would basically enslave people to write this instead of working on their, on their own thesis, which is what they should be investing the time in. And then she addressed, the what we call the salami, the salami method for research, and how it's all about funding, but research doesn't get exciting because people are too stressed to make, they don't make a thought experiment anymore. A little bit partially for this reason. So she went out. Now she's a YouTuber and presenting science. I might link for her channel, yes, in the comments if I find it again. But that was very interesting. Just say a person that walked out and what do they think about physics, because we are not taught. Yes, we get something that is interesting, but maybe true, maybe not be true, and it's not really, science. So I just figured that the stuff coming back from there. Also, I was doing something on undoing the 22. We talk about like, toxic relationship patterns and gaslighting. And today I had a patent around this technology to avoid assassination. And this I'm grateful to those who dared to speak in what happened in the Freeze case. And by the way, yes, his name came up. I don't think I addressed this before the eclipse. I was looking at the charts for the Netherlands, and I saw that his ascendant. I didn't say his name because I didn't understand how it relates, and I saw the ascendant is like, damn, he's gonna play a part in this eclipse, and I don't understand how. Well, on the day that there was a recruitment order for the people in Netherlands to the army, okay, to the army, in those who are from 17 to 35 years old, were recruited. And so don't know how many of them already recruited, but they all got a letter from the army. And that, I believe, would be NATO. Although I know the leaders are now wanting to kind of separate from the UN. And on that day, there was a leaking of a conversation between Peder R. de Vries and his son. They had an advocacy, and another person that worked with them, Kassem. And yes, and there was kind of a leaked conversation because this third guy was doing some monkey business and they had to let him go, but he's still in contact with his son. So I wasn't expecting this to play a part, but around the assassination of the Vries, what happened is the police offered the ultimatum, and they said, either you get so much protection around you that it's almost like you're kidnapped. Today I thought about this. You're kidnapped by the police and you cannot put footage, you cannot this. And of course he said no. He's a journalist, right? And of course he said no, he wanted to protect his freedom and his ability to express himself. And so they would put it like, oh, he didn't want our help. And of course he was assassinated. So I think all the leaders in Netherlands should listen to this, because when your expiration date is out, This is basically what troubles me. But the leaking of this tape was on the day that people got the order of recruitment. And it feels to me that all this nationalism rise is not individual countries, even though the calling is to individual countries. But yes, this is just the way the world goes. And so this, what happened to the Fries, basically happens to every person who would turn to the police for protection from violence. And this happens to anybody who is escaping violence or who has expired in regard to those who recruited them, or as journalists. Okay, his business was exposing crime. It's very interesting, but yes, I don't think it's so related to this eclipse, but it's interesting. I've got going from side of like, pulling pranks to we've been the most famous in your nation basically for stopping crime, and then of course the all the rumors around like Corvin out, and still going and pursuing assisting bringing organized crime to persecution. That where he has expired. That was the system was not allowing this anymore. And what they did is that's like you get so much help, sozusagen, so that you are literally kidnapped by the police and you cannot even speak, or you get no help. And there was no third option, and of course he was assassinated. So I had a patent to do with these things. I think in general people should be communicating with each other, and I think in general, even regardless of technology. Because I was really angry at, in Israel I have a forum for using technology to prevent the murder of women, and they have kind of like high-tech, stuff. I was like, fuck it, give housing, provide the thing, like you give a house with land big enough for the canines, and so on. But today, yes, I did come with a patent, but it would still necessitate that all the people who are either in this risk of assassination, this is also certain leaders, yes, would have this web of connection. And so all we really need to, if somebody kind of clicks the bell, all we really need is to arrive. But not to arrive one person to say, oh, how you doing? No, arrive as a group. To prevent these things, but it's like even if you didn't get to prevent, you would get to unalive those who try to unalive the person, or those who unalive the person, or tend to that, right? It's with the people, and I think with the Jupiter-Uranus on the 22nd degree, we are going to have new mass-killing technologies experimented or implemented, because it's the degree of to kill and be killed, yes, but for the 22nd degree can also be technology to prevent murders if we address it magically, then addressing the issue of murders, and understanding that even those who are world leaders, they are at this risk in as much, especially when the army rebels. And so again, I talked about the mandate of the heaven in a previous video. So when you see that the way what they do to men and women that escape violence is also children that escape violence. Okay, we're going to give you so much protection, so to speak, so that it's like we're kidnapping you, or we are going to not help you at all. Okay, when I was in between houses, there was like, oh, well, then go to the street, or How was it? In Israel, one woman said, "Yeah, I don't have five-star hotels," and then the police said, "Well, our help you don't want." The police tells me, "Our help you don't want." I'm like, "I believe you, thank you," and I go. Okay, and they were not even being as persons. Okay, they were not even being unkind to me. They were saying this to me because they're like, okay, what we can do? Yes, our help with you don't want. And so that was the deal. But the situation for people who expose corruption, and the situation for people who are given a certain role and then they're no longer useful. Okay. And I talked about this, that to recruit a person, like, um, even when you go to politics, you could be going to like a web of connection, and then you're introduced to this, introduced to that. They say all the people are in these secret societies or whatnot. So, and it doesn't necessarily seem malefic at the beginning. Very much like with women, there was, kind of the problem to see what will they do, how much do they want, how much do they dream to have this. And so with men it's the same. Okay, it's the same. So and when they get into this position, they have expiration dates. So this is also important. They are not dealing with they're not dealing with these problems. Okay. And some of them have to agree to security so much that, you want your freedom, but you have to have security, knowing exactly where you are at any time of the day. And of course, it means the segments of the police know exactly where you are. And so, however big leader you are, is those situations. So I was thinking also about these things. Mars, Saturn, they're very like a reality check on law enforcement, police, governments, because of Saturn, and army. And Neptune is also leaking of stuff, and Mercury retrograde is a leaking like of conversations, like we've seen. But there are also unique eureka moments, okay? Where the woman that escapes a violent home, or a child that escapes, or a man that wants to de-escalate a situation and just wants to get away to a place, but maybe doesn't have the money to have his own flat. Oh, I have to tell you something. There was an article in Israel, a person with a high rank in the army. And he had his own house, and then he was married to a woman. And in another house, they grew children. Now, he had to get away. He had to get away. Every time they would have an argument or this or that, and he would just suddenly have to leave everything, and he would go to his house where he retreated. It was not even about cheating or being with someone else. No, he needed to be alone. So he needed to go. The right to exit, okay, it needed to go. And what his wife did, she wanted to file divorce. They went to the courts. And what the court suggested is that he can no longer live. He was trapped with the wife, and if he doesn't want divorce, he can no longer live. Now, when a person is in such a situation as, is some sort of PTSD going on there, and a court tells this person, you cannot leave, you have to stay with your wife, such a person could, because there is fight or flight, he could go from flight to fight. And if we don't understand these things in the court system, yes, because the woman, of course, she's in stress, she's with two children, just like, yeah, we need to find a creative solution. This is why we supposed to have, yes, not welfare as they kidnap children, but some sort of creative solution. But don't expect that the people that go to the army, they can go back and go to work, just like we cannot expect for a woman alone to be able to raise a couple of children. and so on. And so you see that the people higher up the rank of the army, the people that are world leaders, rising world leaders, okay? And it's not about name drop. It's not about this. It's about the position that they are at. The people who expose corruption and the common people are dealing with the same problem. So why don't we have a web of connection that helps all the people that are dealing with this? The way we denucleared the Cuban Missile Crisis was by creating a hotline from the Kremlin to the Pentagon by a stream of communication. Says the person with Chiron in Gemini, ruled by Mercury, which is the sign of communication. So, but really, the way that you are, the way out is to create a form of communication through which you absolutely like denucleify the region. Yes, if you ask like what about the patent, well, you want to think about waves, whether it's sound or whether it's a light. There are waves that are healthy for us and there are waves that are not healthy for us. So just I want you to think, why are we putting our technology on waves that are not healthy for us? We could do the same but with waves that are healthy for us. And with that I'll end.